Hello lovely and welcome back to my channel. I am Peachy Vegan Goddess and I want to share with you about my friends and family's reaction when I told them I am going to be vegan. So this was quite a long time ago, 7 years ago now, but I just want to share with you a bit about that journey because maybe it will help you if you're on this path right now, because it's not always easy when you have friends and family who don't get it, who are even against it, or who strongly disagree, or have concerns and fears for you, like they're being protective, or maybe they just tease you or don't really understand, or they think that you're some sort of hippie and that you're going to be malnourished, some sort of malnourished hippie, right? Because this is how it went down for me. So I told my mum first. My mum is always very supportive of me and very understanding of me. I don't think she really got it, but she was definitely, like, she understood that that's what I was doing and she supported me. I think she may have had some concerns about whether I'm going to be like healthy doing that. But she was always very much supportive of me. And I would try to explain to her. So I would try to explain things to her quite a lot of the time, but it wasn't really getting through. And so yeah, but she was never unsupportive. She was never mean to me. She never was anything negative. She was positive and a supportive person. So that was amazing. I don't live that close to my mum. We live like an hour away from each other, so it's not like I was around her all the time, or that I was living in the same house. I'm sure if it was when I was younger and I was living under her roof and we were in the same house, it probably would have been more difficult. But because obviously I'm an adult and I don't live with my mum, and so yeah, it's not something that was really going to affect her that much anyway. And it wasn't a big deal. When I told my dad, my dad just thought I was a hippie, made jokes about being a hippie, but my sister, or like my half sister, which is my dad and my stepmom's daughter, one of them, she was vegetarian from the age 3 and she's been vegan a very long time. And so which is crazy because her mum is Brazilian and a big meat eater. And so, yeah, like they already had a daughter who was vegetarian and then vegan, and they already had they were already accepting of her, but, or as accepting as they could be, I think, like my dad and my stepmom. But for me, I do remember my dad just saying I was a hippie. But again, don't live with my dad, hardly ever see them, and it wasn't really an issue. So like extended family members, there was definitely some, like, so on my mum's side, we're all big animal lovers, right? And I could tell that, so what I sensed is that by me being vegan, it would cause other people to feel bad about their choices. And then rather than seeing that, oh, this is something for them to work on within themselves, it's almost like they would be defensive with me, or assuming that I'm negatively judging them, or it's almost like they would feel bad around me. Like people would often say, oh, I don't always eat, like say if we were going for like a Christmas meal or something like that, and they were eating turkey, like, oh, I don't often eat meat anymore, like as if I'm even, like, I haven't even said anything, but they would say this to me, and I would feel like just by me being vegan, other people, like me being vegan, he made other people feel bad. I made other people feel bad just by being vegan. That's what it felt like to me, and it felt like they felt judged by me. And yeah, and it was sometimes harder to eat out back then. And so it was really frustrating for me because I would be with like friends or family or something, and I would have to be one of those annoying people that asks the waiter or waitress to, oh, can I have this but without this and without this? And it would be a bit annoying. And so I would it would annoy me that it was not easy to eat out back then, because then it showed that it's difficult. But then at the same time, I would always have something really nice to eat. And so I'm hoping that it showed them that even if you do have to be awkward with the waitress or waiter, that it's still possible. Do you know what I mean? But I definitely sensed there was some, like, a few family members understood, but there was definitely a bit of some weird vibe of like judgy defensiveness with other family members. And that's just me being completely honest. I hope they're not watching this. If you are, I love you, and you know, I'm just being authentic here. That was the way it was, well, from my perspective anyway. And I do think that maybe they thought that I thought that I'm better than them, that I thought that I'm better than them. I didn't think I'm better than them. I just thought that I'm, like, the truth is that I was being more ethical or moral, I guess. Like, I was being more loving to animals than they were. But I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm way better than you. Like, I wasn't being like that at all. But I just got the sense that they thought that I thought I was better than them, kind of thing. And I got that a lot, just generally. And you get that a lot, like, in society, where people assume that vegans think that they're above you or something, and that's not how it is at all. That's not how it is. So yeah, like, a lot of my friends didn't get it, didn't like it. They would tease me about it. They would make jokes. They would, if they had a burger, they'd be like, oh, this juicy meat, this juicy burger, stuff like that. Like the general kind of teasing you get among your friends. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was harder to go out to being vegan back then. And I think that a lot of my friends thought that it was just a phase or a fad. Like, they didn't really get it. They didn't understand all the reasons. They weren't really interested to find out more. And I tried my hardest to, if they asked me questions, like, I would get this thing in me for the first 4 years being vegan, like, because I was so passionate that I would have this fire in me, and if someone was to question me, or like they would be I don't know, trying to prove me wrong or something, or even just question me, I could tell if someone was questioning me from a space of genuinely wanting to know the answer than they're questioning me from a defensive space or an attacking space, if that makes sense. And my blood would boil, and I would go, like, I would feel this rush of heat. I probably went red in the face. Like, I just couldn't communicate because I would feel so triggered about it that I couldn't respond in a beneficial, like, good way that was going to be, like, helpful. I would just close up. I wouldn't know the answers. And then afterwards, in hindsight, I'd be like, oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said that. Oh, why didn't I say this? It's so annoying. And so then I'd send them like a massive text message or write them an email. And I'm like, by the way, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, like, I would find myself like trying to prove. And whenever I would try to prove, it would feel really horrible to me. I'd get anxiety. I'd feel really awful about it. And that would happen with friends. And I guess even if they were innocently asking me questions because they're curious, I would still get het up and defensive, and I would be angry about it. I'd be an angry vegan because I was so angry about what I discovered, what humans do to animals. I was so angry about it that I couldn't be calm about it at the beginning. It was like, oh my goodness, how can you not see this, you know? And so yeah, I would be a little bit harsh, and I would not be very inspirational, put it that way. But yes, like I said, I think, yeah, I was met with quite a lot of questions, and that I didn't have the answers to in the beginning, and I felt a little bit outcast from society. But then I realized actually some of that was because of a stereotype and like a stereotypical journey, and because there was lots of angry vegans online that I was following who were defensive and who were feeling that way. I feel like I kind of got sucked into that a little bit, when actually in reality it wasn't quite like that. I was kind of making it like that because I was being defensive, and I was assuming that's what people were thinking, and so I would go on the defensive or the offensive. if that makes sense. So I decided to change that. I decided to for me to just be curious and for me to just carry on doing my thing. And if someone comes to me and asks a question, or if they tease me, or if they say something, I will be calm and I will just educate and I would just answer and I would just say my truth. And so that's what I really tried to do. So my partner's family, they didn't really get it, but they were very accommodating because actually Rory went vegan. We were actually living with his parents at the time for like a temporary thing, and basically they were very accommodating. His parents were fine, but there were some heated discussions with other family members sometimes, and overall I think it was quite challenging for Rory, and I would always find it very difficult in those situations to like to also be a voice, put it that way. I found it very hard to be a voice for the animals, and I would like feel very uncomfortable in those situations, in that family group environment, like that intimate family group environment. And so I would feel like I wasn't like fully supporting Rory. And yeah, I know that it's upsetting, and this is what I found upsetting as well. It's upsetting when you have just made a huge life decision, and if it was anything else, your family would want to know about it. Like family and friends would be curious. Like if you'd made this huge life decision, family and friends would normally like want to know why and want to know about it and be supportive about it. And so when you're met with people being defensive and criticizing and trying to prove you wrong and teasing you and just not being that supportive, it can be really disappointing to see that the people who are supposed to be there for you the most are kind of the people that are making it the hardest for you, you know? And so I feel like there was a little bit of that going on. And overall, yeah, it was a bit challenging, not gonna lie. But then as time went on, people could see that this was now my way of life. This was not a fad. This was not a phase. This was not something like, this was something I was really serious about, that really meant a lot to me. And I started to be able to communicate better and better. I started to be able to be the example and shine my light, and I started to be able to, yeah, just speak about it and not be so triggered when other people were triggered. And I just started to, yeah, just show people and tell people the truth. And my confidence started to grow as, yeah, like just through practice and through obviously like my own embodiment in my own life after years of being vegan, and I'm still here thriving. Like I haven't died from a protein deficiency, guys. I just became more and more confident in this lifestyle and in this way of being. And I became more like, I had more and more conviction in me around how it's not okay to exploit and abuse animals, and no one really wants to be doing that unless you're a psychopath, right? And so I just had so much confidence and conviction in this that I think people started to see the truth. And yeah, even though I still felt anxious and I still felt awkward, I would definitely be more confident in what I was saying and how I was saying it. And eventually people started to get it and started to respect it. And obviously as this journey was happening, it was becoming more and more widespread in society, more and more accepted in society. It was like reflecting out in society that it was like my life was reflecting. It was just it's our natural evolution as humans that people, you know, the more and more people start to become aware and start to make the connection and start to live that lifestyle, the more and more other people are starting to accept that as a way. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, times were changing. There was lots, suddenly in supermarkets, there was loads more options. Suddenly restaurants were coming out with vegan menus. Suddenly there's a freaking vegan cafe down the road to us, and like, we weren't the only vegans at the party. There was lots more vegans in the world, and it was just becoming more and more known. And so now, quite a few of my friends and family are on that vegan path, on that journey. Some of them are vegetarian, some of them are fully vegan now. And I think it's just becoming more and more, like people are waking up more and more to the truth of those industries and the truth of what happens to animals. And I just think people don't want to tolerate that, and they don't want to be part of it. They don't want to pay for that to happen. And so that is my journey with my friends and family and the reactions that they had. And I hope this was useful to you. Like, if you're on that journey, if you're around people who are not understanding, just please stick with this. Just stick to your, what's the saying? Just stand firm, have conviction, like stay true to your heart, stay true to who you are. You're an animal lover, and killing, exploiting, and abusing animals doesn't align with being an animal lover, okay? Like, it just doesn't. And so just stand true to your core values, and just, you know, in your heart what is right and wrong. And if you stay true to that, it will get easier. You'll find ways of being, of speaking, of answering questions. And when you're out and about and you're at different restaurants and stuff, obviously it's easier these days, but you'll find ways to be in those situations. And it just takes practice, trial and error. And the longer you are vegan, the more you will find ways that are going to work for you. And the more you'll become confident in who you are. So just stick with it, and just know you're not the only vegan at the party, and you can be an influence and inspiration to others if you just stay true to yourself, okay? So I love you lots, and I am going to see you in my next video. Okay, bye.